there was a time when no one believed he would become anything extraordinary. He wasn't born into a wealthy family, and he didn't grow up with powerful connections. Like millions of ordinary Americans, he faced rejection, uncertainty, and moments that made him question his future. While others chased comfort, he spent countless nights studying, learning, and building skills that nobody noticed. Success didn't arrive overnight. It came through years of discipline, sacrifice, and the willingness to keep moving forward when every reason to quit stood in front of him. As his business slowly began to grow, people became fascinated by one thing. It wasn't just the money he was making. It was the way he treated people. Employees weren't just workers to him, they were human beings with dreams, families, and struggles. Instead of creating fear, he created trust. Instead of demanding loyalty, he earned it. Every decision he made reflected a simple belief: if people grow, the company grows. His leadership style started attracting attention across the country. Young entrepreneurs wanted to know his secret. Business magazines featured his story. Television interviews praised his vision. But every time someone called him a genius, he smiled and repeated the same message: success means nothing if you can't lift others while climbing. That sentence began spreading everywhere. College students wrote it in their notebooks. Small business owners pinned it to their office walls. Parents shared it with their children. Slowly, his influence reached far beyond boardrooms. He wasn't simply building a company anymore, he was changing the way people thought about leadership. What surprised everyone the most was what happened after he became incredibly wealthy. Instead of living only for luxury, he quietly invested in education, supported struggling families, and gave opportunities to people who had been ignored by society. He rarely announced these acts publicly. For him, real kindness didn't need an audience. The more people learned about him, the more they realized that his greatest achievement wasn't becoming a CEO. His greatest achievement was becoming someone whose success inspired hope instead of jealousy. Millions admired his business empire, but even more admired his character. And then, one unexpected decision changed everything forever. It became the moment that transformed him from a successful CEO into a living legend. People still talk about that decision today, because it proved that true leadership is measured not by the size of your company, but by the number of lives you change. He stood before thousands of employees, investors, and journalists during what everyone believed would be another business announcement. The cameras were ready to capture news about profits, expansion, or a new product. Instead, he surprised the entire room with words that no one expected. He said that the greatest investment a company could ever make was not in technology, buildings, or markets, it was in people. That single statement became the beginning of a movement that inspired businesses across America. Within months, he introduced programs that gave employees better education, mental health support, and opportunities to build new careers. Many people who had once struggled to pay their bills were suddenly finding hope again. Young workers who had been overlooked were promoted because of their talent rather than their background. Parents could spend more time with their families without fearing for their jobs. One decision created thousands of success stories. The media praised his leadership, but he never accepted all the credit. He always reminded people that every company succeeds because ordinary people do extraordinary work every single day. That humility made him even more respected. Competitors studied his leadership style. Universities invited him to speak. CEOs from around the world wanted to learn how he had built not only a profitable company but also a culture of trust and purpose. His influence soon reached beyond business. Students listened to his speeches before graduation. Young entrepreneurs watched every interview, hoping to discover the mindset that had changed millions of lives. They expected complicated business secrets, but his advice remained simple: work harder than your excuses, treat every person with respect, and never let success make you forget where you came from. Years passed, and his company continued to grow. Awards filled his office, and headlines celebrated his achievements. Yet the moments he valued most were not the trophies or the billion-dollar milestones. They were the letters from people whose lives had changed because someone had believed in them when no one else did. Those letters reminded him why he had started his journey in the first place. In the end, people realized that his greatest legacy was never the fortune he built. Money can be counted, businesses can be measured, and records can be broken. But the confidence he gave to others, the opportunities he created, and the kindness he showed could never be measured. That is why millions remember him, not just as a successful CEO, but as a leader who proved that true greatness comes from helping others rise with you. And perhaps that is the most powerful lesson of all: anyone can build a business, but only a few can build a legacy that continues to inspire generations long after they are gone. The CEO changed millions of lives because he first chose to change himself.